that first one there in example 1, that box, it says x squared plus 2x equals 3. All right, it says solve using this thing called the quadratic formula. I don't want to talk about that yet. You guys, you may not know it yet, but this is why I'm going to do it, because it's also a great review for Wednesday's unit test. You may not know this, but you know you have 2 methods to solve this already. You already have 2 methods to solve for x. Anybody want to just take this over right now and say, I know how to solve for x by doing this? Good thing we're reviewing right now. How can I? Let's go, Marco. What do you got? Okay, all right. Move the 3 over. And I'm just pay attention. That's all I'm asking right now. We're not writing anything in the notes. X squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. He moved the 3 over. Now what do you want me to do? Come on. We've been here a while. Too many times. What am I going to do to this? Trinomial. What am I going to do? Factor the darn thing, right? Factor it. 2 numbers that do what? Multiply to negative 3 and add to 2. What do you got for me? Positive 3, negative 1. Now what? Draw your line down. X plus 3 equals 0. X minus 1 equals 0. What's one value of x? Negative 3. What's the other value? So one way of solving this is by factoring it when it's equal to 0. There's one way. You also have another way to solve for x. You also have another way. I heard it. Complete the darn square. C values moved over. Now what's next? Let's go. This is all review for Wednesday. What's next to complete the square? If the A value is already 1 and the C value has been moved over, what's the next step? Divide your B value by 2 and square it. What number do I get out? 1. What else are you going to tell me to do? What's this factor into? X. And what do I left on the other side? 4. Now what do you want me to do? Square root both sides. X plus 1 equals, what do you got over here? Plus or minus 2. So now one answer will be x plus 1 equals 2, and x plus 1 equals, okay, watch the magic. Ready? Move the 1 over. What do you have? Move the 1 over. What do you got? 2 different ways. You could factor it, or you could complete the square. I'm ready for a third way today. Because let's face it, are you going to be able to factor everything? No. And I know some of you guys hate it when you complete the square and there's decimals involved. Right? Okay? So I'm giving you a third way today to solve these equations that start out with x squared. Okay? There's going to be a third way. Do you guys all understand right now, going into Wednesday's big day, the 2 different ways to solve these? Either by factoring when it's equal to 0 or completing the square. You're all good there. All right, this third way I'm about to show you is called using the quadratic formula. And it's very convenient. A lot of kids like to use it because all it is a formula where you literally plug in the A, B, and the C value. Please take a look at your formula sheet right now. Do you see where it says quadratic formula on your reference sheets? Everyone see it? Second row, second column, second one down. The quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. It's a lot, but that's probably why it's on the formula sheet. All right, so same problem. I just factored and completed the square with you. Let's use quadratic formula right now. If I'm going to ask for a, b, and c, this should be equal to what? 0, because 3 is not the c value. So if you're going to use quadratic formula, yes, it's got to be equal to 0 in standard form. So everyone go ahead and move the 3 over. All right, let me go to somebody right now. Pick off the A, the B, and the C value. We should definitely be at this point this year. 10, can you pick off the A, the B, and the C value? A is 1, B is 2, C is. Quick comment. The A value has to be what to complete the square? 1. Quadratic formula, I don't care what it is. You can have an A value of whatever, all right, and still use quadratic formula. As long as it's equal to 0, that's all you care about. All right, so here we go. Let's use the formula right now. It's on your formula sheet at the top of your packet right now. X equals, it starts out with negative B. What's your B value? 2. So guess what's going to happen when I plug it into the quadratic formula? Negative 2. Everyone with me? Plus or minus square root. Here's where I'm probably a lot different than other teachers now. Do not plug in a darn thing. Do not plug in the B value. Do not plug in 4A and the C value. I've seen it way too many times. Kids plug in the numbers and they do something on their calculator. They miss a sign. They end up doing something incorrectly. Here's how we're going to find this value. Everyone knows what the A, B, and C values are, correct? Store them in your calculator right now for A, B, and C. So everyone store 1 in for A, 2 in for B, and negative 3 in for C. Store them in your calculator. Let's be 2 and negative 3. Everyone's got them stored? And all I'm going to do now is ask the calculator, what is the value of B, just the part underneath the radical? So you're going to go B squared minus 4AC right now in your calculator. B squared, what is the value of B squared minus 4AC? So again, take a look. If you are a little confused, I'm just going to tell the calculator what is B squared minus 4AC, and they will plug in the values for me and do the dirty work for me. And it tells me it is. Everyone getting 16? Let me know if you're not here. 16? So that's the number underneath the radical. That's your B squared minus 4AC value is, take a look, 16. Too many times I see kids punch something in their calculator wrong underneath that radical. And then this is all over 2 times, what's your A value? 1, which is just 2. Okay. So that's just plugging it in. Now we got to actually answer it. Questions on the plug-in? How many answers are we going to get out here? How the heck do we get 2 answers from that thing? Anybody know? How the heck do we get 2 answers? That's what that plus and minus is for. Ready? I don't screw around here. I just go right to the end. Here's one answer is going to be, ready? Negative 2 plus the square root of 16 over 2. And what's the other answer going to come from? X equals negative 2 minus radical 16 over 2. That's what that plus and minus means, everyone. I'm going to add, and then I'm going to subtract. Everything else stays the same. And this is the beauty of these calculators. I'm going to plug all of this in that little fraction template, and it'll just poof, pop up the answer. All right, so I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to get my little fraction template up that I've been preaching to you guys. Use it all year long. Well, half year anyway. And I am going to plug literally in my calculator negative 2 plus square root 16 all over 2. And then it'll give me one of your answers is 1, which we knew all along from the beginning of class. So x equals 1 here. and x equals, you do the same thing. Yep.
On the calculator, how do you get it so everything's over 2?
What's that?
How do you get it so everything's over 2?
Alpha y equals. You ever seen that before?
Yeah.
Fraction template. What do you mean? How do I get it all over 2?
Well, when I tried it, it just puts the square root of 16 over 2 and not the whole thing.
And you're using a fraction template?
Yeah.
So I'm just typing in, ready? -2 minus square root of 16. And then I'm hitting the down button to go down into the fraction template and then putting the 2 in.
I see what I did. I put the fraction template after I.
Okay. And then -3. So 1, -3. Yep. On my calculator? That's because it's probably, is that your calculator or mine? Okay, well, it just happens not to be updated, so that's why it's helpful to have our own calculator. But if that's the case, if that's the case where you can't get a fraction template up, you have to do the numerator first. So you need to do -2 plus the square root of 16, find out what that is, and then at the end divided by 2. So you got to do it piece by piece. Numerator first and then divided by 2. Everyone all right? Going? Any questions? What do you got there, Emma? For which one? -2 plus the square root of 16? What are you typing in your calculator? Are you putting a negative on that too? All right, let's go. I'm ready.
How do you?
It's called typing. Just like you text. You're killing me here. That's what I thought. Everyone ready to move on? All right, let's get this going here. X squared minus 6x minus 2 equals 0. Before, whoa, easy, champs. Remember, now we have 3 ways to solve this. Does anybody know 2 numbers that multiply to 2 and add to -6? Anybody know? Me neither. So you couldn't factor this. Could you complete the square? Yeah, probably. You could complete the square if you love completing the square. All right, and now we can use quadratic formula. Let's plug it in. X equals, what's your b value? -6. So when I plug it into the quadratic formula, which says -b, it's going to become +6. Plus or minus, I don't put anything in that radical. I store everything in my calculator. Store 1, store -6, store -2. And then figure out what that b squared minus 4ac value is. And as you're starting to see, a lot of kids like the quadratic formula because the calculator is doing all the work for them. So let's go. Let's see a store. I'm walking around here. Let's see a store it. And we'll see if anybody's got the right value underneath the radical. 7 when you're ready. What number you got underneath there, champ? What? Darn right you do. 44. All over. 2 times my a value. Just 2. Now, hey, don't get in this little routine that it's always going to be 2 on the bottom. If there's an a value other than 1, it's going to be a different number on the bottom. And now break it up. x equals 6 plus the square root of 44 divided by 2. And x equals 6 minus the square root of 44 divided by 2. Directions say round to the nearest tenth. So you should be getting decimal answers out, so go right ahead. Nearest tenth. One answer only. Positive. There's a positive and a negative one here. 8. One of your answers. 6.3. That's the positive answer. Yep. And then there was also a negative one that you rounded to the nearest tenth, and that was negative 24. Negative 0.3. Thank you. Okay. Nice job, everybody. I want to do at least one more with you where the A value is it, because I'm not going to make you do 1 through 6 because you got not quite a bit, but some a little bit more than usual problems of practice for this weekend. So let's go to number 3 right now. Right there at that page, number 3. Solve using the quadratic formula. All right, first thing, before I even break out the quadratic formula, what's got to happen? 16, what's got to happen? Not here? Okay. How about 7? What's got to happen? Got to be equal to 0. So 16x squared minus 8x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, quadratic formula, x equals negative b. So what number should be plugged into the quadratic formula? 1. What's my b value? So when I plug it in for negative b in the formula, it'll be 8. Plus or minus, I'll give you guys a minute. Store all those values into your calculator and find out what b squared minus 4ac is. Bless you, bless you. I see some people getting nervous. They're wondering if they typed in everything correct, because what are you getting underneath the radical? Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah. We'll talk about what actually is happening on Monday when I get a 0 underneath there. That's fine. Hey, stop. You did do something wrong if that number comes out to be negative. Okay, so keep that in mind. You did do something wrong if that number comes out to be negative, something you typed in wrong in your calculator. All right, because it should always be 0 or positive. And then this is all over what now? 2 times 16, everybody. 2 times 16. All right, so get 2 answers going. 8 plus the square root of 0 over, what's that, 32? And then x equals 8 minus the square root of 0 over 32. And watch what happens here. What are you noticing about both of these? Same answer, right? It was what, 0.25? But it says round to the nearest 10, so I guess we got to make it 0.3, right? Actually, are you guys going to be, let's just keep it 0.25. That's ridiculous. It's only 0.25. We don't need to round it. And yeah, hey, every time that number comes out to be 0 underneath the radical, there's only going to be how many answers? 1, and I'll show you why on Monday. Okay, there's only going to be 1. Marco, what do you have? Yes, because when you plug something into a fraction template, if the answer is a decimal, it will give you it back as a fraction automatically. If you want, okay, good point. Now let's say, because you got what out? 1/4? Okay, so if that happens and you still have to round it to the nearest 10th, because you would prefer the decimal, correct? To round? If that's the case, you have a math button right on the left-hand side, so you hit math. Do you see choice 2, which means convert your answer to a decimal? So you hit choice 2, it'll convert it to a decimal, and then you can round. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop there so you guys can start the assignment, which is, if you remember, I had you change your assignment sheet. To pages 20, what do we say, 23 and 4? Okay. Can you go there in your packet, please, so we are absolutely clear on what I expect here for the homework? Obviously, it's on a separate sheet of paper. Okay? You already know the answers, and I put it on an Aspen too, but you already know what the answer should be. But you're not going to complete the square. You're going to use quadratic formula. And since many, not all, but many of you work very, very hard for me in here, all right, I'm going to throw you a bone here. And instead of doing 11 through 28, anybody opposed to just doing the odds? So that means 11, 13, 15. Everyone see where I'm going here? Okay, so I'm not going to have you do all of them because some of you guys work too hard for me, and I'll give you guys a little reward for that. So I'm just asking for 11 through, what's the last problem? 27 or 28 odd. All right, 11 through 28 odd. So just do the odds for me on a separate sheet of paper using the quadratic formula. And you should, this is nice now. Once you finish the quadratic formula, it should match the answers you got there. Okay? All the answers are up on Aspen too. Let's get going. Phones are staying away if I'm going to decrease the homework. Again, use the quadratic formula for all of them tonight.